A devastating vampire civil war is brewing in the shadows, one that threatens to bubble over and affect the entire world. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Avengers issue number 14 and find out. Alrighty then, so as we join the comic, Castle Dracula is in flames. No, it wasn't those pesky Belmonts or even the Van Helsings, not this time at least. No, this time it's because of vampire on vampire violence, where you see a new player calling himself the Shadow Colonel has made it their mission to oust the old guard and Dracula. The thing that makes this guy different, though, he's not afraid to use vampire hunter tactics to kill his own. I'm talking solar light grenades, repeating steak launchers, an entire Italian restaurant's worth of garlic. And you know what? The Shadow Colonel and his forces would have gotten away with this hostile takeover too, were it not for the fact that Dracula is a giant coward and ran away. This means not only is the vampire civil war destined to continue, but the Avengers themselves are going to have to dispatch to different corners of the Earth to deal with the fallout. Luckily, Earth's mightiest heroes have their newest conscript in Blade. He and Carol Danvers take care of a plane full of vampires, which feels like a really great Samuel L. Jackson sequel that never got made. Blade deals with the majority of fleeing vampires while protecting a group of humans, and Carol mans the controls because, well, she is a pilot after all. It's nice to see her pull that skill out. Elsewhere, Tony Stark Iron Man makes use of a brand new solar effect in his suit to help Black Panther repel a group of vampires who are looking to steal from the Vibranium Mound. This issue also calls into question the morality around killing vampires. Technically, they're undead, but they're also people with thoughts and feelings, and they're arguably sick, and the Avengers don't like to kill if they can help it. But vampires also live on the death and carnage of other living beings, so you know, it's a bit of a moral gray area. The B-plot of this newest arc also begins to take form, revolving around Robbie Reyes, the Ghost Rider. He and She-Hulk have gone all the way to the monster metropolis under New York to deal with the threat there. Hey, wasn't Deadpool's ex-wife, Shikla, the vampire queen, married to Dracula for a little bit? What happened there? It's while there in the metropolis, Robbie comes across a little devil boy who seems to know a lot about him. In fact, he seems to know a lot about all of the Ghost Riders, past and present. Well, the Ghost Rider himself is a creature of the night, and the Avengers may need his help now, but there will come a time when they distrust him. Now, perhaps some of the toughest fighting is undertaken by Cap and Thor. They're trying to protect as many fleeing civilians as they can in a Romanian village who are getting picked off by runaway vampires. This leads to a truly amazing scene wherein Cap protects a church full of people, shield in hand and cross in the other. We also get a very quotable line wherein the dialogue says that Steve doesn't go to church very much, not because he doesn't have faith, but because it's hard to kneel when you're standing up for so many. Cap and Thor manage to push back the vampires, but to their immediate surprise, the Shadow Colonel reveals himself to the team. He doesn't want to fight, though, quite the opposite. He says they all want the same thing, the destruction of Dracula, and he's willing to turn himself in. Now, Avengers, is this one of those Loki-esque moments from the movie where a bad guy only feigns surrender so you'll take him inside your super secret base and he can attack you from the inside? Because if it's one of those situations, I bet you're gonna feel pretty stupid. Carol and Steve decide to forego good Cap, bad Cap, and let vampire hunter Blade have this one. But wouldn't you just know, it turns out the Shadow Colonel is actually something of a daywalker expert. He basically reads his entire Marvel wiki page back to Blade, saying that when you really break it down, Blade is a freak amongst human, an exile amongst vampires, and most certainly not worthy of being an Avenger. Ooh, the villain just tried to vampire burn you. What do you do, Blade? What do you do? And that answer is ultimately not much, because the real plot begins to take shape here. You see, it's not the Shadow Colonel they should have been watching, it's the Shadow Colonel's dog who goes to meet with Ghost Rider. The dog, who totally can talk by the way, starts invoking all sorts of crazy spells around Robbie, and with that awakens some sort of terrible force inside Ghost Rider himself. Damn it, I knew it, it's the old Loki gambit again. That's the oldest trick in the supervillain book. Now, all of this is cool, none of it answers the question, where in the world is Dracula? Well, it turns out, like all crappy criminals before him, he decides to try and seek asylum with the Winter Guard on Russian soil. Oh, sure, he's gone now, but I'm sure he'll maintain a creepy cult following, have a web presence, and maybe even tamper with an election or two while in Russia. And so that was Avengers issue number 14, everyone, and overall I thought this was a pretty fun little issue. They get get a nice little dose of paranormal into the regular Avengers, which up until now have been pretty cosmic-based. Having Blade getting treated with such reverence and also getting such a high place of honor in a big story like this too also does my heart good. I always felt like that character deserved more than he got. Jason Aaron also gets to put on his Vampire the Masquerade hat in this story and ask some important questions about vampire society within the Marvel Universe. What would it look like? How would a civil war affect them? I also really like the Shadow Colonel and his forces as villains. I think they're all really well designed, even if the Colonel himself looks a lot like a Hellgast. Ultimately though, I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. I'm interested to see where this whole thing is going to go in the future.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out some of these other videos I have available from the channel. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, did you know, outside just making great weekly comic videos, I'm also on several comic book podcasts, some of which are very popular. There's the Weekly Pull, which the shirt I'm wearing right now. That one goes every other Tuesday. Then there's the Elseworlds Exchange over on the Comic Pop channel. That's every Wednesday around 3 to 5, give or take. And then how could I possibly forget the Comic Multiverse, the show hosted by myself and Matt of Fortress of Solitude. That one goes live on this channel every Wednesday at 8, and also SoundCloud and iTunes later on. Be sure to check out and subscribe to those if you haven't already. I assure you, you won't be mistaken.